Okay. Stopher Cavins, welcome to Something Super Spiritual. I'm so glad we were finally able to make this happen together. It's been, I think, third time's a charm, right?
It's been a journey, but thank you, Jeffrey. I'm stoked to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you. So, Stopher, everybody who might be new to Stopher, is an amazing psychic medium. He
Hmm.
brings no, that's I'm speaking the truth.
Thank you.
No, you have a really brilliant evidence in your mediumship. And I have experienced your psychic readings. My partner Evan has experienced your psychic readings. You're his go-to
I am.
in times of trial and tribulation.
It's always interesting.
Yes. So give us a little brief rundown on who Stopher is and where Stopher came from.
Oh, wow. All that.
Like,
I always get so nervous answering this question because there's like so much, and I have this like existential moment where I'm like, who am I?
oh no.
It's like, what do I tell you? I mean, I guess the stats are that I'm a middle-aged man living in Los Angeles. A father, a husband, a grandfather now after 4 years.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I mean, those are the stats. Formerly, originally from the Midwest. So I still claim the Midwestern boy type of thing. Former military, all that good stuff. But what really defines me as like a soul is kind of my journey, having come from a place of like a decent amount of like childhood trauma and some of that not fun kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and then living a lot of my life. And this is kind of when I wrote my bio for my website. This is kind of what I go over is um for most of my life, probably like 30 years, for my teens, 20s, 30s, I was really kind of like isolating myself socially and like energetically from people because I wanted to protect myself from those kind of abandonment and all that good, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So just in the past, 3, 4 years, I've been much, much more open energetically, connecting with people, diving into mediumship and whatnot, just kind of having a spiritual awakening. So life is much, much different for me than it was, say, 3 years ago. And now I'm connecting on a very, very different level where I wasn't connecting with people before. Now I'm going like full in. It's crazy.
Right. Okay, so you started doing readings professionally, you said 3 or 4 years ago?
Actually, about little over 2 years ago.
Okay, okay. When did you start noticing spirit? Have you always noticed spirit from the crib, or is this a
No,
relatively later in life thing?
I mean, I think I did, but because I hear stories and um, about I was the baby that would talk to the wall or whatever. But really, no, it was pretty much shut off just because of what I endured and went through at a young age. So I shut all of that off, not just the spirit stuff, but just really just connecting with people as well. So I was not connected. I chose not to be connected. Um, and then spirit kind of said enough of this back in 2020 and started me on a journey uh, into the mediumship and the metaphysical stuff. And it's interesting. Within a few months, I was reading publicly. I mean, I had a business. I was online. I was on Google. I was reading at events, and it just took a few short months. I mean, my journey was very, very intense.
That is.
I don't
I mean,
suggest
that
it for
is. I
everybody.
mean, going face first into events and platform
Huh.
and in front of people and yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I from the time that I bought my like very first Oracle card deck, where I was still just like kind of figuring out what, just kind of playing with, reading people's energy and whatnot. 3 months later, I had a business. I was reading publicly. It was wild. Like I say, I don't suggest it for most people.
I was just gonna ask. Okay, so are you in, is it of your mindset to instantly go to entrepreneurship with new ideas? Or is this just like, is this just you just followed your soul's calling like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeffrey. It was a little bit of both. And just to take it back in 2020, what started it all was I had a very good friend of 18 years who lives in New Jersey. Keep in mind, I live on the opposite coast. He
Yeah.
called me up and wanted me, I'll kind of wrap it up in a nutshell. He wanted me to help him with start his business in the middle of the pandemic, which was a spirit mediumship business. In all of our 18 years, I think we had one conversation about him being able to see or talk to dead people.
Okay.
So it wasn't like something that I knew, top of mind with him. But I was like, yeah. Oh, and back up. I'm in marketing, by the way. So
Okay.
this
Okay.
is something I do, all day, every day, and have been since 2017. I help people start small business and service provider businesses. So this is what I do.
Aha.
And so, yes, I said yes to him. I helped him. And in that process, long story short, Spirit said, you're going to do this too. And unfortunately, my friendship with him is we don't communicate anymore, but I feel that we were brought into each other's lives for that reason, even 18 years before, for, this to happen for both of us. And he's a fantastic medium, and he's doing great. And we just don't communicate because
Yeah.
he might feel some kind of way about it. I don't know.
So 2020, you went online and you started making yourself a website and you started creating yourself for business, and boom, you're out in front of the masses.
The masses. Well, I'm still working on the masses part of it, Jeffrey. But yes, that was like the easy part for me, where some people, they don't know how to build a website. I mean, boom, I built a website in, a matter of, hours. And then, getting to the top of, Google Maps with my business listing, that was something that I've done for probably 100 different people with their small service provider businesses. So that was the easy part. And then it was like, okay, I have I have a real business here. People are coming to me wanting to pay me for reading. So I had to do some, there was still a lot of development, and still a lot of development to happen. But yeah, the best way for me to develop is just to jump in. I do much better when the lights are bright.
Oh, wow. Development is ongoing.
Yeah.
It's a never, there's not an end to development in my
Mm-mm. Always learning.
view. Yeah. So, okay, I just had about 8 questions go through my
You
head.
can ask
So,
me anything.
when you were making this happen, clearly you are more extroverted than introverted, versus as you're in your childhood, you were more introverted. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I think I put on, for a lot of my life, I think I put on a certain mask. So I did fine in social settings, but it was difficult for me, and I don't think I gave all of myself
Mhm.
to it.
When you did jump into this after in 2020, what was challenging for you? What did you find anything challenging, or were you just like close your eyes, count to 10 and go?
Yeah, it's interesting. I love that you asked this, because I thought about this earlier today. Was, you know, the pendulum. The pendulum is still swinging.
Yeah.
And I went from a situation where I was very much closed off and not connecting with people purposely, because, my ego was fully engaged in protecting me from the world. And then very quickly moving to a world where I am, both feet into the water, connecting with people in the most intimate, energetic way. And so the pendulum swung the opposite direction in a very, very big way. And as much as I love it, I have to admit, I'm still figuring out and trying to kind of figure out that balance of the connection, and because we never want our pendulum to kind of swing wildly in one direction or the other. So it did that, and I'm still constantly recalibrating and figuring out how I manage energy and connecting with people. I love it, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's a challenge, still a challenge.
How did you experience spirit? The first awake awareness. What was your first awareness?
My auntie is a bit of a guide for me. So she was definitely there. She was also an intuitive. She was a card reader before her
Oh,
passing in 2014.
okay.
Um, and she did several readings for me, and I think we had some conversations about spirit, and I didn't quite get it, but those I do have memories of it, and they do stick with me. But I definitely felt her energy around me, and especially when I started like reading cards and kind of working with cards and whatnot. So it was just it was a motivator, and to feel her and just like kind of reconnect and build that relationship with somebody I hadn't seen for a long time was incredibly. It's almost an addictive feeling. Um, and so that's kind of where that started. And I knew that she was working with me when I was like reading cards and stuff. I knew she was like kind of working with the cards and helping me, with that. Um, but then when I was doing, I started with primarily psychic readings. And then I would have information come in that I knew wasn't coming from my energetic connection. It was almost like somebody was dropping in little nuggets.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I'd tell my sitter, this information is coming in, but it's coming in from a different place. I think this is somebody on your team. This is somebody in spirit that knows you. Um, so without really knowing what I was doing, it kind of slowly trickled in. And that's how I knew that I needed to open
Oh,
up and kind of focus on mediumship as well.
yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love.
Yeah, it was weird. I just knew it was different. I just knew it was somebody was participating that I didn't recognize before.
Mhm. And I love that because, well, that's what happened with me. I mean, I became
Yeah.
attuned to the Reiki in 2006, and here I am just giving people Reiki treatments, and all of a sudden, something's coming from somewhere else. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I think I have to talk about this. Are you okay? And I'd start talking about it. And it's a really, really incredible feeling when you are working with spirit, you are energetically working,
Mhm.
and then you feel a different frequency or a different vibration, and you're able to recognize, okay, this isn't coming from me, this isn't coming from you.
Right. I love how you put that. Okay, we need to talk about this. And
Let's
I
talk
wish
about
more
it.
people would, even if you're not doing mediumship, even if you're just person in the world that's feeling something. Okay, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Tell people, what am I feeling? I think that's great. That's a great way to start your connection, whatever that's going to look like for you.
Mhm.
It's just acknowledging it. Oh, something's different. Something's interesting. Yeah. Talk about it.
It's interesting because when you are learning the difference between your own energetic vibration and the person sitting in front of you, and you're learning what your own clairs feel like,
Mm-hmm.
clairvoyance and sentience, you're learning how all of that operates within you. And then you've got this person slipping in saying, "Hey, I'm here," and they're communicating energetically with you through your clairs, right? But there's a different feeling, and it's such an exciting period in development for any of us
Mm-hmm.
to recognize that the newness of all that is just really exciting.
I was gonna say before you even used the word exciting, I was like, isn't it fun? I
Yeah,
was, I
yeah,
was just thinking, isn't that fun?
it is. It really is.
Yeah, it's really great. You know, I like to think that I'm always looking to help, my clients heal and whatnot, but it's been such, on a selfish level, it's been so healing for me.
Yeah.
It has been, my life is so much different. I like to tell people, if you had met me 3 years ago, you may not have liked me. And you may not like me now, but I think that people do tend to like me now because I just am more open, and I'm just willing to be vulnerable with myself and my energy, and not care what the narrative of,
Yeah.
things are. And my relationships are better, my, just everything's better. It's better.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a real chill factor to you now. There's,
Yeah, I didn't have the chill factor before.
yeah, yeah. And it's very, um, Well, there's a charisma in that, it's like you don't take yourself so seriously. And that's kind of awesome, So, okay, so when you are connecting with spirit, as much as you have now, your experiences with your readings and connecting with those on the other side and spirit guides and whomever,
Mhm.
what do you how do you experience the divine? Where in there and is it that you experience the divine? What does that mean to you?
Mm, I need a minute to process that. Um, in so many ways. I mean, it is just I've before called it a full body experience. Um, so for me, and like we've talked, at first it was like, and it still is exciting, but you get this like kind of like this unknown. There's still a wonderment to it, but it's we do get used to it, and sometimes we just kind of and I'm always cautioning myself against going through the motions with it, because it is so special. Um, that's why I'm like thinking about it so much because it's like kind of going in, but it's a physical feeling, it's a mental feeling, it's all my clairs are being touched and it's just but at the end of the day, if I'm giving a reading, I also have a job to do. So there's that element of it too. So it's interesting. That's a tough one to answer really, but the short answer is that it's just a full body kind of thing and it's a lot of energy and actually mediumship takes a lot out of me. Um, and perhaps it's because have been closed off energetically my whole life, and now I'm just having this like overload. But I can only do a couple mediumship appointments a day. Psychic readings I can do all day long. I can do 20 of them.
Wow.
The mediumship, it gets me, it zaps me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It lights me up. Like it lights me up. I could just like zooms Energizer Bunny.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I was that. I mean, it energizes me mentally.
Mhm.
I mean, I love it, but just like physically, it for some reason it's a drain on me. So I have to be careful.
When you are in the middle of your readings, are you saying you feel like you're draining your own energy when you do mediumship versus psychic? Or
No, it's not something I experience in the middle of the reading. It's more so afterwards. It's more so I just notice it like later that day or even the next day. It's just a bit of a drain. And maybe I need to do a better job of kind of, I think I do a pretty good job of kind of closing it off after the reading, but I'm always working on it. But yeah, I just noticed that it takes a little more out of me.
interesting.
Um, So I'm not sure if that has to do with the way I connect or what that
No,
is, but yeah, just to me like the psychic readings are something I can just like, we can do a lot of those and I'm
and
not
bang them right
affected as
out.
much.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not affected as much energetically, but those mediumship readings, and maybe I'm just putting more into it. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, we're all different. I think it's just interesting to talk about this because we don't really, but we're all different. But I know like Tyler Henry, it exhausts
Mm,
him. He
yeah,
talks about how he's, flat out afterwards.
yeah, I can understand that. I relate.
What do you think happens after we die? After this body takes its last breath? And what do you think happens with all of your experience and your readings and
Yeah.
connecting with spirit? And
Yeah, I always start off these kind of existential questions I always start from a place of I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, as I've gotten older, I in all areas of my life, I like to start there. I don't know, but and you did frame it wonderfully. Is like, what's your experience with it? So what I feel based on, kind of the connections I've made is an analogy, or I feel like we're all part of this like big orb of light. If you can imagine like this huge orb of light and energy and power. And when we come to Earth, it's almost like a little fraction of it is like kind of pieced off and we go into this, human body.
Yeah.
And we're still connected to that original source of light, right? That big ball of light. And I feel like when our body is done, our physical body is done, we just kind of ascend back into that orb of light. And what I've experienced is that each little piece has, you know, all the information to it, and it just kind of goes back into the cloud. And but it's still accessible to us. It's still like this, like the cloud. It's still accessible to everybody. We can still kind of see what information is there and what, and it's got an intelligence to it. So I don't think we're walking around as like ghosts, you know. I just think we're just kind of energetically out there in the cloud.
Okay.
You know,
I
I
haven't
tend to
heard that.
simplify things like that because if not, it hurts my brain. So
Yeah, I love that aspect. Yeah, you know, and I can relate to simplifying it to what we know with electronics, computers, you know,
right.
internet. It just it makes sense that way, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
like the soul for me to simplify it, you know, I see the soul as the hard drive, and
yeah,
it's the everything, in the hard drive there are all these little files, and each little file is a life, a past life, you know, and
yeah.
within those files we have all these experiences and that personality, and yet but we're still the soul is the whole. So I that's how I describe it too.
Yeah, it feels like something like that.
Yeah.
Once again, I always revert to I don't know, but it feels
Mhm.
like it's something like that.
Mhm.
And I can't wait till, you know, I mean I can wait, but once
Yeah,
we get there and
exactly.
we'll I'll wait, but yeah, once we get there we'll know again.
Well, that's the
But
truth
yeah,
of the matter. I
whatever it
mean,
is, it's cool.
yeah, we won't know till we get there. However, it's just interesting, you know, the way that we're able to connect with these people on the daily, and wondering what they went through and how they got there, and getting these little
Mm.
bits of information about. I mean, I was talking with the mother, her son was in spirit, and she asked, you know, what are you doing over there? What are you doing? And he just gave me this feeling of this, like this great big smile, and this like, I am free. I am
Mm.
and it's like, you know, and like flying around free kind of. And he's like, Mom, it's like Harry Potter, you know, it's like you can manifest. And she started laughing because Harry Potter was such a big deal in their lives here. So for
Oh,
him to
fantastic.
experience spirit as being like Harry Potter, you know, like
Hmm.
that magical, and being able to fly, and you know, that just not strapped into this meat bag.
Yeah, that and that's what I feel because a lot of times spirit will they'll give me an impression of what they feel. And of course I have to translate that and basically it just feels like a total like a release and it feels like there's no gravity.
Yeah.
Because all the human pressures, all the things we deal with are just released. And I'm sure that that reality looks different for different, you know, essences and spirits, but and I've never had a spirit come through and say this sucks or I'm, you
Mm-mm.
know, I'm in pain or I'm in
Mm-mm.
hell or anything like that. So I mean, I don't know if that stuff exists, but I've never encountered any messages about that.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you?
No, in fact, I was just gonna say that too. I have not experienced that, but I mean, who's to say it's not out there somewhere, and we just haven't,
Right.
you know, um, dialed our frequency to connect with that frequency. You know, I mean, who's to know? I just don't.
Right.
You know, um, people ask me often how this how this changes us, like how with you know, being able to deliver these messages from spirit to their loved ones. And the one of the main questions I get often is, you know, how does this change you? They love to watch, you know, Teresa or Tyler Henry, and the inspiring messages that come through, the messages of light, of love, that are you know, uplifting. So
Mhm.
I was wondering if you have any experiences that just you can think of off the top of your head, where readings have just really like taken you to that place of like, wow, and it changed you.
Yeah. I mean, I take away something from all of them. I mean, as much as I like quickly try to like kind of energetically move on from them,
Mhm.
you know, I do process them before I do that, and I do take something away from each and every reading. Because once again, that energy connection, and I appreciate my sitters also for, you know, making themselves vulnerable so that I can connect with them and their loved ones. So in that way, I'm always taking something away. But specifically, I had they came to me last year. It was a husband and wife. And they've been living out here in California for a while. He took a job out here a couple years before, and they were originally from the Midwest. And I read him and her individually. I think I read her first, and it was a mediumship reading. Her father had passed away like a year before, or less than a year before. And it was a beautiful reading. And he came through loud and clear, and it was just so healing for her because she was not able to be there at the time of his passing because she had left home. And so there was so much release from that reading. And then the next day I read for her husband, which was more of a psychic reading. And he had some questions about the job thing and moving back to Missouri and different things. So, you know, he was able to get some answers. And then I realized that he needed to talk to his wife because what she was telling me was a little different than what he was telling me. So it was interesting in that way. But he got some answers, and then they contacted me again just a few weeks later. And they wanted another mediumship reading, but for him, and he was actually going to connect with his wife's father, his father-in-law, because he also had a very unique relationship with him as well. So as they were driving back to Missouri, I read for them while they were parked in their car, and it was another emotional read. It was so different. I was connecting with the same soul, but on a different relationship.
Sure.
And it was just so powerful and so different. The messages that came through were so interesting. And once again, you know, I felt so much release from him, from the sitter. And then just a few months ago, I get a call from, you know, the wife, and she wants a reading for her mother, who was this soul's, you know, his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they were back out here in California, and I actually did the reading for free. I was like, you guys have been so great, and I want, I want to do this for your mom. And so I connected with her mom, and once again, it was just the most beautiful reading. And what I realized was this one man meant so much to three different people, and I'm sure, you know, that they have a larger family, but it was something unique to each one of them that was so like profound.
Yeah.
And you know, so it was just really kind of my first time connecting with one person for three different people, and having such a unique experience and bringing through unique messages, and that was really beautiful. And then after the reading, the original one, I'll just say her name, Heather. She called me, or she sent me a really beautiful message and told me that she says, you know, thank you, of course. And then what I did for her mother, no one else had been able to do. So I don't take credit for that, but you know, just the process of doing this work, that I'm able to be a cog in that I'm able to kind of be the medium in that is just really special. And it makes me feel, you know, in a selfish way, it makes me feel, you know, really important. It makes me feel special. And so that's one that kind of sticks with me. For sure.
You know, it's really beautiful because, well, actually, when you were talking about it, you know, when I was in Arthur Finley, when I was there in 2019, it was one of the exercises where we were connecting with this particular whomever in spirit and recognizing that, you know, they are a different person, maybe even a different personality, a different side of their personality with different people. So if you're connecting with somebody, it's really cool to be able to set presupposing ideas and thoughts and judgments completely aside and recognize this completely three different relationships being so different, but yet the same man, the same personality. and how that comes through so specifically for each person.
Yes.
That is the evidence that we were talking about.
Absolutely. And I was nervous because Heather was there for all three mediumship readings, obviously her own sitting. But she was there when I read her husband, and she was there when I read her mother. So I was like, and I don't remember what comes through. Like I say, I disconnect from them, and I can recognize the energy when they come back in, and a lot of it kind of comes back to me. But the fact that it's different but the same. It's like we have these different unique relationships and information, but all the stats and the information, the evidence, the base stuff is the same, but the messages and kind of the things that they shared that comes through is so unique.
Yeah.
And healing, and not only am I feeling spirit, but I'm also feeling my sitter, and I can feel when they release something or when their energy
totally
shifts, right?
Mhm.
So that is something that also felt very unique in its own way for each one of them. So
Oh, that's
very
awesome.
cool.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank
And
you.
so
You're welcome.
where can people find you, Stopher? Where do you have anything coming up that you want to let everybody know about? And where can people find you?
Yeah, so my website is stophercavins.com. And so if people, want private readings or whatever that looks like, they can all, my calendar's on there. And they can book through my website. I am going to be here in the next 3 weeks. I think I'm starting it. Pardon me for not having the date. I think it's the 6th of next month. I'll be starting some more classes. I'm going to be doing. Normally, I teach with someone else, but I'm going to be doing some solo classes. So that's going to
Excellent.
start on the 6th of next month. Those will be up on my website pretty soon. And when I say next month, it's June. So in June 6th, I think. It'll be kind of a like intro, like intuitive foundational kind of course, which I'm kind of excited about.
Excellent. So beginners.
Beginner, yeah, but it's not even like beginner into like mediumship. It's almost like laying the groundwork is kind of where we're going to go with that. And then I'll offer a beginners into mediumship, psychic mediumship that will start directly after that. And then I'll go straight into a advanced intermediate. So for the next 3 months, we're going to be doing classes.
Awesome.
So if anybody's interested in kind of starting ground zero and building through, I'm going to have those up on my website pretty soon. It'll be under the education tab. Then of course I've got the YouTube channel. So you can just type into YouTube, my name, Stopher Cavins, or Psychic Stopher. It should pop right up.
Do you do shows on your YouTube?
I do. I don't do them regularly just because of, I've got the full-time job and the private readings and limited energy, but I do probably a couple a month, and then I like to jump on other people's channel as well. So yeah, I've got a couple coming up next week. So the 21st and 22nd, I'll do a couple shows on my channel.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'll have to have you on too.
Yes, please. Well, I'm debuting my live June 16th. So
Oh, nice.
yes, we have to get together on mine as well. We'll pollinate with everybody, of Kevin and you and Jason and there's so many of us. This community is really awesome because everybody is so gracious with their time and their energy, and it's like we're all in this together and we're so much better together. And that's just really, I was so afraid of YouTube because I wasn't sure, like I had this mental picture that it was, like trolls and torch wielding villagers,
They're on there somewhere, but I haven't come across that yet. And with the community of people that do the lives, also there's such a great community of people that are in the chat and supportive, moderating, and it's just, you see a lot of the usual suspects, and they're fantastic from all over the world. And so yeah, it once again, it's kind of an addictive thing. I just wish I had more bandwidth to do more of it, but
yeah, it's
in time.
So welcoming, and that's really special, really special. So yeah, June 16th for me, and then you're coming on.
Yeah, I'll be there whenever it is. I'll look out for the invite, and you're gonna be on my channel as well. And what I want to get into is I know a lot of times we take the questions in the chat. And I've done it one other time where I actually bring people on to the video and do the readings live. So I want to do more of that.
That's what I want to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a visual thing, and it's a little easier to read as well.
Oh, totally. Yes. I don't quite know how to do that yet, but I'm going to figure that out. I'm probably on the fly.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. I'll tell you how I do it. We'll talk about that later. Sure.
Well, Stopher, thank you so much for being here with us. You are an inspiration to me and so many. Oh. And thank you for teaching and just being out there doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you. And likewise.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll be talking to you next week. Thank you again for listening to the Something Super Spiritual podcast. If you know someone who would enjoy this episode, please do share it with a friend. For show notes, links, and to purchase a mediumship reading, my website is somethingsuperspiritual.com. You can also easily subscribe and follow the show on your favorite app, sign up for my newsletter for bonus content, and to keep the conversation going, you can easily join the Facebook community. It's all right there at the website, somethingsuperspiritual.com. Signing off for now, namaste.